this is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Russell.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Russell.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Russell. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous, presented by MyHouse. I'm your host, Tony Hager. I'm joined by Ross Bartachek, who had a big weekend in Iowa City. Checked out a lot of the recruits were in town this weekend, so we'll get to that a little bit. But, man, it's been a long weekend of Cubs just winning, and I know you and your wife are big Cubs fans. So, I mean, tomorrow's a big day. The World Series is getting underway.
70 years. I mean, geez, my grandpa probably doesn't even really remember the last time they were in the World Series. So it was a pretty incredible moment on Saturday night, just kind of taking that all in for sure.
I know of a lot of people that are just going out there just to be a part of the atmosphere. People aren't even going to the game. Dude, Chicago is going to be ridiculous because people that I know are going aren't people that I would ever expect to go. So, I mean, they're like kind of semi-Cubs fans, which I know there's a lot of them out there. So, I mean, it's going to be insane in the bars and the restaurants and everything out there. They're going to have to bring in a lot of old style just for the World Series. Did you hear the rumor that they shut down letting any more people into Wrigleyville prior to the end of the game on Saturday? That's what I heard from somebody who happened to be there. I can't verify the authenticity of that, but I heard they weren't even letting people in. And that was just, NLCS. Yeah. I think what I'm going to end up doing is here in Des Moines, they're going to open up, well, they've been opening up actually the Iowa Cubs Stadium where you could go in and you could watch it on the big screen. You could get on the field, and it's a pretty cool little atmosphere. So I think I might take the kids and family there if I can get somewhat of an early game. I mean, usually I can only make like 1 or 2 innings with them, which it's going to be tough to do that because obviously TV games start at 7 o'clock, not 8 o'clock at night. So we'll see what happens. But long weekend for you in Iowa City. There's recruits all over the place. We'll get to that. But first I want to go back to the night of conflict. We've had a week to kind of take everything in, look at articles all across the nation talking about night of conflict. We've got some emails about the event, what they thought, positive, negatives, and the push-out rule. This is obviously something that people are advocates for, people are against. Putting the push-out in folk style, I feel like, was a great success once again. And I mean, the officials were coming up and saying, wow, we only called 2 push-outs, which arguably there was probably a couple that they did miss, but in the end of the day, I feel like it did what we wanted it to do. We didn't want more push-outs. We don't want push-outs. We don't want the extra points. We want action in the middle of the mat, and that's what this ultimately created.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big takeaway that needs to be, noticed, that needs the impact of guys staying centered, whether it was in their preparation for the event, whether it was, when they're out there on the mat or when they're going through the match in their mind afterwards saying like, man, I got to do this better. I got to do this better. Yeah, I kind of got into some situations and, like just using this example, kids backing up, they know they can't just use that out of bounds as a safety net. And there was a lot of times where guys would have to try and figure out how to get their butt to the center. And that was just, I feel like, it's growing. I think our biggest hurdle is, getting those refs all on the same page. And I think that's the challenge you face with any rule changes. But like you said, it was only called 2 times. I can only think. I went back. I've watched them live. I've watched them in replay. I think there's only about 4 times it should have been called. Maybe 2 times that it was pretty borderline, didn't get called then. I mean, I feel that's pretty successful, and I just kind of don't like people saying the advocates for the push-out are bad for wrestling, that we don't want a sumo match, because we didn't have any sumo matches.
Yeah, there wasn't a time where we saw that happening. I think people are just assuming. The deal is the openmat.com put an article out there, Grinds My Gears, put by Bryce Villa, who was at the event. So I'm just kind of confused if he's talking about the Night of Conflict, but is he talking about other events? There hasn't been another event that has put the push-out rule in a full match. I think maybe Flo, who's number 1, did it in overtime at one point, but they didn't do it this year, I don't think. So, he's got to be talking about this event, but he must have not been watching the actual matches, because there was no sumoing going on where you get to the edge and you're doing that. It was guys circling their butt to the center of the mat, which is what we wanted to accomplish. It's insane to watch a high school match, junior high match, as a coach, and all we do is really from the bottom, these kids stand up, and then they get pushed out of bounds, and we go back to the center, start over again, go back to the center. It just so annoying, and it's boring, makes the matches go a lot longer. And this year, with there only being 2 push-outs, the event flew by. I mean, we could have had 5 more matches if we wanted to, but I feel like the event flew by because we had the clock was going pretty much nonstop.
Agreed. He kept the pace going. I mean, we just had that momentum, and we were just building into the next match. And, there was no downtime, no time to get bored. I mean, because it was just constant wrestling right there in the center. And I know Bryce tends to take a little bit of, opportunity with these articles. I know he likes to try and interject a little bit of humor. So I'm sure that might be some of it. But the fact is, I don't see because the underlying message is what he's still going for, and I don't see it as a bad thing. You hear coaches, when they're high school kids wrestling, they're near the edge of the mat. They're like, "Hey, know where you're at. Know where you're at." It's because it's a safety net, and I didn't hear that at all, unless it was saying like, "Hey, know where you're at. Get around." So I don't know. I think I thought it was successful. We've had, Doug Schwab tell us it's a good idea. Obviously, we got things to tweak, but I feel like it's getting better. And Night of Conflict 3 is going to have, we're going to have more things figured out, and I think it's going to be working even better next year.
I think the officials is going to be the hardest. That's the hardest deal, is getting them on the same page. And I feel like they definitely did a better job this year than they did the first year, so that's why we brought the same ones back. It might be in our benefit to get some freestyle officials in there that have more freestyle background that can see those push-outs better than maybe a folk-style-oriented official could do. So, I think Tommy Bloodround helped a lot with that. But, maybe having all 3 guys on the mat at one time and helping with those kind of calls will make things easier. So, and for the fans, we did try to explain to the fans what was going on with the push-out, making that a little different, and I've been on the side where it says, hey, let's stop changing the rules because it gets more and more confusing. And I get where people are coming from that. Stop changing the rules, but this is a rule that's pretty easy to understand. If you step 1 foot out, you're out. It's a push out. But if there's action, if action is taking you out, if there's action on the edge of the mat, and one wrestler maybe tries to, he gets an underhook and flips him over, so it's a little kind of a controversy of who stepped out, whatnot. We could work for those things, but there's only been now 2 events that we have to go by, so the body of work, it's tough to see. I mean, the All-Star Classic, I think, not 2 years ago, they're the ones that started the 4-point near fall. That was a test event. It was a great event, and they instilled it after one event. So I'm hoping that it'll catch on, and more events that are not sanctioned by a specific body that will try to change things up and make wrestling more interesting for folk style fans.
I agree, and I feel like it's an interesting perspective. There's a lot of these kind of type of duels popping up over the country. It kind of seems like now, and to have our event be unique and having a push out, it's a benefit to us. It's a benefit to the fans to get to see something a little bit different, not your typical garden variety. Lots of good high school kids coming in and wrestling each other. There's a little bit of a different factor to it. So, I know there's a lot of people that are against the push out, which is fine. You guys can all have your opinion too. But I felt the rule that we implemented, our wrestlers that competed in the event know the rules. I would say a majority of the people showing up to the event knew the rules, understand it. So I feel like it's pretty successful. I think it's a good thing for wrestling. Personally, I'm just going to leave it at that. I think it's good. I think we're doing a good thing with this, just testing it out. Those are my 2 cents on the matter.
Well, let's get to the weekend. You were in Iowa City for football. Did you go to the football game, or you just go to practice?
I just went to practice. I honestly, for some reason, I was thinking it was a 2:30 game. Don't know why. Don't know if I thought I heard someone say that. So when I drove down to Iowa City Saturday morning, I'm like, why is tailgating traffic like this crazy? And then I was like, oh, it's definitely 11 o'clock kickoff today. I felt like an idiot.
Iowa doesn't play in the afternoon very often. I wish they did. I wish they had some more night games, but that's just the Big Ten maybe. Or we're just not good. So.
Well, I didn't know if it was, because they were playing Wisconsin that, it was at Wisconsin. Or not, sorry, but the fact that they were playing Wisconsin, I'm trying to say. And, just a better team. And I don't know what I was all goofed up. But the good news is I got to practice.
Yeah, you got to practice. I heard there was lots of fans in there. I don't know if there's any media in there, but, there's lots of message board warriors probably in there that – this is where we started. Just being fans, going into rooms like this and learning about wrestling. But now, you've got this platform where you've got to do certain things, and you can say, Ross, you know what I'm trying to get at here is you can't say certain things, but you can it's you got to be it's a fine line of when you go in here of what you can and cannot do. To keep Tom Brands happy because you don't want the world letting everybody know what's happening there. But you took a picture of all these recruits that were in town, and from what I can remember, this is one of the biggest ones. Obviously, Spencer Lee being in town, already a commit, but having him in town with some of these other guys, what recruits again were in town, and who really caught your eye that maybe you didn't know was going to be in town.
I think we all knew we left off the podcast that we knew, number one guys like Jacob Warner, Brady Berge were coming in. Spencer Lee, like you said, was there. Max Murin, another Hawkeye commit out of the Young Guns Club, was there. But there were some other guys there they're kind of intriguing, guys that you didn't really know were on Iowa's radar. Iowa was on, vice versa. They were courting each other, I guess you could say. Anthony Falvo, ranked number 9 at 182 pounds, was there. Miles Wilson, number 17. I believe he's from Colorado. He was out there. He's ranked at 170 pounds. Zach Axmere was another name we kind of dropped before the end of the podcast. He's ranked number 36 in Lars's his Fab 50 rankings that just came out last week. And then, of course, Gavin Teasdale was there. He was sitting up in the stands. He wasn't a part of he wasn't taken as official since he's only a junior, but those were the 8 recruits that were in there, and there was a 9th one in there that also committed, Tony.
Aaron Costello. This is one that we thought was going to be coming to Iowa City. We've been talking to him really all summer, really since the Fab 50 rankings come out when Lars left them off of there. We caused a little bit of a stir between some people that don't really enjoy our website. But at the end of the day, Costello is a guy that the Hawkeyes have been on, and he continues to raise his stock and committing the Western Dubuque heavyweight 2-time state qualifier. Aaron Costello's headed to Iowa City. Did you have a chance to talk to him on Saturday or?
You know what? I went up to him because he sent me a message when the new Fab 50 came out. And I said, Aaron, were you a little salty about that first set not having you? And he just kind of shrugged it off. He's a good guy. He understands. And I just said, hey, it's my understanding on how we did it the first time, and we wanted to do it a little different the second time. I think, Lars put a pretty heavy emphasis on just state placements rather than the national results. I think that's what people really wanted to see in that first round. But then we caught enough flack that we're like, okay, if that's what our readers want, we're gonna include that. We're gonna try and put out the best list we can. So Aaron got it. He kind of thought it was funny. Talking with his father, they think he can go with just about anyone in the country. I think that Illinois heavyweight Anthony Cassiopeia or whatever, that was a 2-1 match when those two wrestled. So if you're going 1-point match with one of the top heavyweights in the country, they're pretty confident in Aaron's ability, and I think the Hawkeyes got a really good heavyweight.
People have been saying Stoll 2.0. Is that just because Costello is a 285 pounder? I mean, he doesn't weigh that, but I mean, is that why? I mean, does he have a similar style in your opinion to Stoll? I feel like Stoll's he was more of a Greco guy, could throw you from anywhere. And Costello, I think, takes more shots than Sammy, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, I would say, I know Costello was a Greco AA, not a freestyle AA out at Fargo this year. But, I would say he's not so much of the, barreling for underhooks, trying to move you around upper body. I think, they got similar body types. And I think maybe people are saying that because we're used to seeing, Bobby Telford was just a mainstay, and he's, huge. He's 6'3" or whatever he is, and he's just this huge, tall, lumbering dude. And then you got Stoll and Costello coming in they're more shorter, they're more built. So I think it's just contrasting of styles. I don't see him in the Sam Stoll mold, I guess.
So let's just switch to the college action then. So recruits aside, they got to see, I'm sure, some head banging, some sweat in that room, and get an opportunity to see Brands and company coaching these guys. What matchups did you watch? Did you know who you were watching? Because sometimes it's kind of crazy when you're sitting on those bleachers there to tell who's who, because they're all wearing gray with black shorts. So what one were you looking at on Saturday?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, the room's really big. I don't know if anybody else has been in there, but you get those guys in the back corner. Some of the matches, like Carter Happel, I really wanted to see how he was doing, but he just happened to be with the pillars and the positioning in the room. I wasn't able to get a good look at him. I know a lot of our listeners really like to know about Carter and his kind of future. He's kind of been a big guy in our state for a while, so I didn't get the chance to see him. But what I did try to focus on was a lot of those lineup questions that are going to be coming up for Iowa. The 141, Alex Marinelli, what's going to happen at 97, how Sam Stoll looking, just kind of all those questions that people are going to have going into the season is what I was really looking forward to.
So at 141 pounds, did anyone stand out for you yet? I mean, last year everybody was talking about Vince Turk. Vince Turk's going to be the guy. He's going to shock the world. Who's that guy this year? Is Vince going to get down there? Do you think he can make the lineup or what?
I mean, Flo's got him ranked, so they obviously think he's the favorite coming in as well. I think there's always been confidence in what Turk brings on his feet. He was rolling with Phil Lau for most of the day, I think. From what I was watching, he was rolling with Phil, and he looked pretty good against him. I know Phil's kind of in that 33-41, and he kind of tinkered with the idea of going up to 41 at one point, I think. I don't know how serious it was, but, it's not like Turk was dominating a small 33-pounder. Phil's a pretty big guy. So I thought Turk looked really good there. Paul Glynn, I don't know. I mean, he's so tall. I didn't realize him because he was going with Gilman, who's, of course, short. But, just looking at him, I don't even know how he even thought about making 33 last year. He looks like a good-sized 41-pounder. Unfortunately, he was up against Gilman, who's just a buzzsaw. I mean, that was a fun matchup to watch, but Gilman was getting the better of him there.
Well, the guy that everyone's was talking about, Michael Kemmer, sounds like he's going to hopefully get in the lineup there. But last time I was in the room, I saw Mike and Alex Marinelli going at it. Marinelli's a little bit bigger, so I feel like they had some good scrambles, but Marinelli was coming up on top more often than not. And as Marinelli, do you think he's ready? I talked to him at the Night of Conflict beforehand, and he seems really confident. I mean, he hasn't lost any of that pip in his step where some people do when they get on campus. But you think Marinelli's ready to step in the lineup this year?
We've never questioned how good he is on his feet, and that was pretty apparent this weekend. I mean, if you want to believe internet rumors are out there circulating, I mean, he's taken down Evans 3-1 or something like that. He's beaten on Brandon Sorensen. I'm pretty sure it was Gunther who he was rolling with on Saturday. He looked really good on his feet, but what I was curious, they did some referees position. I wanted to see his mat wrestling, and he looked tough on top, and that's kind of what I was really focused on. Riding is such a critical game I don't think he'll have a problem getting out, but you got to be able to get rid of riding time, or maybe you got to ride just a couple more seconds to get that riding time point. That it's just become such an important part of the game. And the last 2 years, we really haven't had to watch Marinelli be on top in high school just because he can physically dominate people from neutral. So I was interested to see how that looked, and I came away pretty impressed. I thought he looked really good versus Gunther. I think we all are starting to assume is going to be the opening day starter, if you want to call him that, at 165 pounds. So I think Marinelli's got a real shot to crack this lineup.
I mean, every post I see or every text I get, it's always Marinelli's going to be in the lineup this year, which Tom Brands isn't known for, but he was recruited for a reason. Now that Ryan Morsar was huge on him, talking to him every once in a while. Marinelli is a must get, along with a couple other people that they ended up not getting, still on right now. But Marinelli was huge. So, bumping up in these question marks that you had going into the day, or everyone has around this lineup, up in 97. Lots of different names been thrown out there. Some people from 97 maybe bumping up to heavyweight because of Sam Stoll being out right now. Do you feel like there is maybe somebody has the edge at 97, and then whoever doesn't make 97 can maybe bump up to heavyweight to fill Sam Stoll's shoes while he's gone?
I think Holloway looks huge, and that's kind of something that's been apparent going all the way back to summer. So I think he's going to be the guy that's going to go up to heavyweight to fill in for Stoll, however long that may be. But what I was really impressed with, I didn't know what to expect from Cash Wilkie, but he was going up against Alex Meyer in the room. And from what I was glancing throughout the practice, he was doing a pretty good job getting in on Alex. And I think we all know Alex isn't exactly a small 74-pounder, so when you talk about these matchups, that size comes into play a lot, and I think Meyer's big enough to handle, should be a redshirt freshman, but I thought Wilkie was doing just fine, and I'm kind of really wondering if he's going to be able to push Holloway maybe even out of that spot come the time Stoll comes back, and Holloway's going to work his way back down to 97. I was really impressed with Cash Wilkie, and I like Stephen Holloway, but I was just really impressed with what Cash did.
I've always liked Cash. When he got out of high school, I thought he could be a kid that could be a top D1 talent, because when high school, he kind of had good accolades, but not like blue chip accolades. He wasn't on a lot of people's radars, but he was a pretty good baseball player. He was a multi-sport athlete, so focusing on one sport at the University of Iowa, I felt like this would be a good opportunity for him. And it sounds like from you and other people that it's really paying off for him. So maybe to see him in the lineup it's going to make a lot of Iowans happy to see him go there and find a spot. So any other matchups that you caught your eye? I mean, how did Brooks look?
Brooks was going up against Bowman, and Bowman got taken for a couple rides. I like Mitch too, but man, it's hard. Sammy's good in that upper body, man. He was kind of rolling there. The other, it's kind of always watching Sam Stoll, how he's doing. He's rolling with Telford, and Burhow was over there, and he was looking good, icing his knee after practice. I talked to him. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "I feel fine, still feeling good." So I'm sure if you told Sam Stoll put on the singlet, go tomorrow, he would. That's just how he competed like on one knee at nationals. So we don't doubt how tough he is, and I think he's looking closer and closer. He was in some good positions where he was working that knee around.
Well, anything else from the room that you hear any kind of rumblings of anybody going to the Grandview Open? That's coming up in not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that. I've heard that, some of the redshirt freshmen will probably be going there, but will they bring in any of the backups? Did you?
Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to talk and see what some of the younger guys were doing. So I did miss out on that one, but I know you got some pretty good info that the true freshmen are going, which is going to make that tournament something to go see.
Yeah, they could possibly, UNI, the NIAC tournament got canceled, so that's where UNI was going to take all their guys, their starters, or potential starters. They're going to have their wrestle-offs there, so that got canceled. So talked to Coach Schwab, and it sounds like he's going to be maybe bringing them down to Grandview, so that's going to make that tournament real tough. So excited to see that next Saturday. And speaking of the Panthers, I'm actually going to be, Media Day is tomorrow, actually today, if you're listening to the podcast. So we'll be up in Cedar Falls getting some interviews with Coach, and hopefully there'll be some wrestlers available. So we'll have to we'll bring you all kind of Panther information on our website, iawrestle.com, and we will talk about that next week on the podcast. Find out who's actually going to be in the lineup. Hopefully some of those injuries are taken care of, like they were plagued with last year. It was just brutal what they had to go through. It seems like each week they had something going on. So we'll talk more about the Panthers next week. And this Saturday, the Iowa Wrestling Coaches, Officials, the convention is going to be going on in Des Moines, Iowa. We have Takedown Wrestling Radio is going to be doing a broadcast from 9 to 11, which I'll be on. And then after that, we'll be talking to some of the coaches and officials that are out there that they've got like some clinics that go on. There's some speakers. So it's just a good day of talking wrestling. So we'll have some coverage from there as well. And then the Cyclone Wrestling Club and Gomez Wrestling Academy is going to be putting on an event up in Ames at the Sports Iowa Indoor Sports Club, I believe is what it's called. It's not going to be at Hilton Coliseum. We've been fielding some questions on emails of how you get tickets and how you can see the event. The event will be on Flow Wrestling, but it will be at Sports Iowa Indoor Sports. So if you go to Hilton, don't expect to get tickets. But this has been a lineup that was announced, months ago, and lots of top wrestlers from the state of Iowa, lots of people from Illinois, and then there's some national head-to-head matchups in there. But some of the matchups have changed a little bit. We'll have a full preview on iawrestle.com on that. Ross, this is event. Colin's in this event, incoming freshman. That's somebody that I'm pretty excited to be able to see compete at the high school level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all want to see how he handles 106. He'll be going up against a Fargo champ out of Illinois. Alex Thompson, always electric, always fun to watch. He's going to be going up against Austin Gomez, Iowa State recruit. So, there's two for sure really good matchups that we got our eye on early. Of course, Tristan Lara is going to be in there. He's coming off a big win. And maybe if he gets one more win, he'll get into those national rankings. I don't know what he's got to do.
Yeah, I can't believe he texted me He texted me. Actually, I texted him and said, "Hey, what's it going to take for you to get in these rankings?" And then those rankings came out the next day, and he says, "I don't know what I got to do," because he had a huge weekend, and man, Drew Bennett was so close to having a big weekend too. And then he went out to the freak show and dinged up a little bit, but JJ Classic, yep. The Elite Takedown was at the freak show. But yeah, Agony and Ames, Iowa. That's taking place Saturday night. So you can go to the agonyandAmes.com, check out tickets there. I think there's only going to be 300 people, 300 tickets that are going to be sold for the event. So not sure where they're at as far as ticket sales go, but if you don't have an opportunity to go, you can check that out on Flow Wrestling. And of course, we'll have coverage from the event as well. So, other news around Iowa that we need to get to here.
Just kind of like you said, I just want to say, congrats to Bennett and Brock Parker, both placed at the JJ Intermat Classic. Spencer Trineri won the title up there, and it's kind of big news for Trineri he's apparently transferring to Clarion.
Yeah, we saw that when we were doing the preview for the event, and that wasn't something that I didn't hear. I mean, I figured that'd be something that old Lars would hear, but nothing out of the Clarion Goldfield camp. I don't know if they just didn't want people to know that he was coming, and he pops up at a tournament. But that's a huge lift to that program at the upper weights.
Yeah, they're just coming off losing the Portillo brothers, and now they get this transfer in. That'll, I can't remember what he placed last year, but he's a top 5 guy, should be at that weight. So, it's definitely good for Clarion there.
Well, other stuff up on the website that would be going up, that has gone up. We've got some of our D3 team previews. Wartburg's up, and Buena Vista's up, and we'll have more to come. And the Iowa Women's Wrestling Recap is back. So Matt Waters is going to be bringing that to you for another year, letting you know everybody that's in the state of Iowa at the high school level, wrestling, JV, varsity. So Matt Waters is going to be heading that up again. So the very first Iowa Women's Wrestling Recap is up on the site. Iowa women are full-fledged into college wrestling now. It's crazy to think Rachel, one of my biggest fans in women's wrestling, is wrestling in college now. So I'm checking out college results for her. So check that out as well. So,
by the way, Mike Millage took second down at the Freak Show. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Kid just continues to win.
Well, the Elite Takedown, and these guys go to some big tournaments. They send some kids to some big tournaments. Noah Fye, he probably didn't have the tournament he wanted, but came away with the 6th place, got a medal. Yeah, but Millage, he keeps getting second, which it's got to be so frustrating for him. But he's still. That's what's so great about wrestling is he just is continuing to get better, and some of these losses I think are going to be better for him in the long run. So to go in and getting this experience and wrestle all different type of styles is what you want to see. So big shout out to Elite Takedown Club for sending these guys out there. But that's it for episode 69 of Potentially Dangerous.
Well, let's just throw this out here, too. Don't we got the IA Wrestle Preseason Classic coming up?
Yes, we do. That's going to be in 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks. That will be in Benton Community. You can check out on trackwrestling.com. Get registered for the event. Right now, I think it's $15. They got pre-registered. If you can get in the event, then it'll go up to like $25, I believe. But that's an event that we are part of with the Eastern Iowa Wrestling Coaches or Officials Association. They put on that event, and we just are kind of backing it, promoting it a little bit. So, that event is coming up. Hopefully you can get registered for that. We're going to have our rankers there as well, Ross. So I'm hoping that we're going to get our rankers there. So if you come to that'd be a good opportunity for you to get in those preseason rankings. the rankers can't get everywhere throughout the year. So if you want your what you're putting out there to be seen by the rankers, you got to show up at the IA Wrestle Preseason Classic.
That's right.
Check out for more information on that at iawrestle.com and trackwrestling.com. So good job of you getting that in there.
Just wanted to make sure. I mean, I love having that preseason tournament in the state of Iowa. Just it's nice for kids to know there's a place to go and get some matches in before the season starts.
So for Ross Bartachek, I'm Tony Hager. This has been Potentially Dangerous episode 69, and we will see you next week with UNI information straight from West Gen.
Get low when the whistle go.